here. It's a great honor and privilege for me to host this today on behalf of IESLWA. It's a great privilege for me to introduce Professor Ajantha Dharmasiri to present the today's topic, engineers as leaders. Thank you again for accepting our invitation to present this valuable talk or presentation, Professor Dharmasiri. Professor Ajantha Dharmasiri has a rare combination of being a chartered manager, a chartered HR professional, and a chartered engineer. It's a rare qualification, a rare set of qualifications, and a rare breed, of course. That's why mentioned earlier, it's a great honor and privilege for me to introduce Professor Dharmasiri to all of the attendees today. He is a renowned academic, a conference speaker, a corporate trainer, a strategy consultant, author, and a person who is representing academia as well as industry. So again, a great professional, great person to be in the engineering and also in the academia. Professor Dharmasiri is an adjunct professor at Price College of Business, University of Oklahoma, USA. And he was one of the editors of the pioneering Sri Lankan Journal of Management, SJIM. And also he's one of the Commonwealth AMDISA doctoral fellow. And if I kind of elaborate more on AMDISA, the acronym, it's the Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia. So he is a Fulbright postdoctoral fellow and a Commonwealth postdoctoral fellow. And not only that, he's also an independent director of several boards. With that, Professor Dharmasiri, it's again indeed a pleasure for me to introduce you to the floor today. So this meeting or the evening is open for you, all yours.
Thank you, Tharundu, for the wonderful introduction. And my batchmate invited me. How could I say no? And then I hope Kitsir is somewhere around, a friend. So it gives me indeed delight to connect with you virtually. Thanks to the technology. And let's spend 1 hour meaningfully in discussing something relevant to all of us as engineers, where we would talk about engineers as leaders. So let me formally begin my sharing by greeting Ayubowan, Wanakkam, Assalamu alaikum, a good evening to all of you. I know you all are much ahead of me with regard to the evening. So let's enjoy the evening in a meaningful manner. Permit me to share my slides with you. I think I have the screen sharing options. Okay. So let me begin with this one. I think I need to have spotlight. Okay. Yeah. All right. I hope you can see me as well as the slides.
Yes, both.
Yes, and I hope my sound is clear enough.
Yes, very good for me.
All right, thank you. So let me start sharing some thoughts as a lifelong learner. I would not claim that I'm an expert in the field of leadership. It's so rich, so enriching. So in other words, you are a learner of leadership every day. I discovered my leadership potential when I was appointed as a director of PIM. And then I started reinventing myself, renewing myself, or reviving myself. That is indeed refreshing, I would say. So I would use the topic engineers as leaders. And briefly, PIM had been my second home, the premier prestigious postgraduate institute in Sri Lanka, where I was a student, a visiting faculty, teacher, and then they made me acting director. They were not sure whether I would survive, but I determined to be an active director. So then I became a director and completed my 2 3-year terms, all say almost 7 years, I was running PIM. So as my second home. So Price is my summer home. I used to go there to teach international HRM. As Tarandu mentioned, it all began with Fulbright. CMI, Chartered Management Institute, UK. I'm the president of Sri Lankan branch. So they have branches outside UK in Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, and Sri Lanka. So I'm heading the Sri Lankan entity. CIPM, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. I'm a former president and currently part of the College of Past Presidents. So I'm the common eye of PIM, Price, CMI, and CIPM. That's how I would like to briefly introduce this individual as a common eye. So these are my involvements in print media, electronic media, social media, local, regional, and global arena. And these are the 10 books that I have written, 2 in Sinhala, 8 in English. So the latest one came recently, Strategic Strides, a compilation of my columns that I wrote to Daily Financial Times and Sunday Observer. So these are the glimpses of my consultancy engagements over 25 countries, I would say. You can see from the costumes, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Brunei, Maldives, China, Nepal, Bangladesh, and so on. So I enjoyed being in Fiji, wearing a traditional Fijian shirt. And my latest was in Oman, where there was a very high degree of Omanization, replacing expats with Omani nationals, where I trained them on management and leadership. In fact, it reminds me, I did a similar session for engineers in Doha, Qatar, for Institute of Engineers Qatar chapter, with the same interest they showed on leadership, so engineers as leaders. So moving ahead, these are the glimpses of my summer teaching. When the summer is really chilly at the very beginning, I get into very formal attire. When the summer gets hot up, I get into pair of shorts, which is very common in US. Professors come in pair of shorts with a can of Pepsi, or they have something called Dr. Pepper, a sweetened condensed cola. So it is a very interesting, very informal, very interactive experience, which I cherish. It continued until Donald Trump came and changed the immigration laws. So there's no short-term J1 scholar visa anymore. So I can go and teach, but they can't pay me. So there's no point in me going and doing charity if I'm not paid. So that's a challenge that I see. So this is where I would like to locate my thought sharing. At the end of the day, what matters is not how much you know, but how much you have done. So engineers are known to be doers. And that connects with what you know. Knowing and doing should have a clear nexus. Knowing and doing. Okay, so great. I thought the message is for me. The chat box. All right, so great to see Kamal. All right, good. So at the end of the day, what matters is not how much you know, but how much you have done. So knowing should lead to doing. Doing should deliver expected results. The value creation is all what we need to do. So that's what Aldous Huxley said, a British philosopher. And I don't know whether he has anything to do with Huxley's vintage, you know. So I think what he makes, what he says makes a lot of sense with regard to leadership. So moving further, half full versus half empty. We can look at the turbulent time that we are going through rather negatively. That things are so frustrating, things are so uncertain, things are so difficult. At the same time, we can see a lot of opportunities. Any crisis is a calling for renewal. Any crisis is a calling for refreshing. Any crisis is calling for a rigor, a renewed rigor. So I would look at positively the turbulence we are going through in Sri Lanka. The entire world is going through turbulent times. There's economic recession on one side. There's looming of war on one side. There's some possibility of a third world war where if the Israel-Hamas conflict or the Russia-Ukraine conflict, if they reach another level of escalation, so we might even experience a bigger disaster. So half full or half empty, it's a choice. So leadership, in a way, is a choice. Whether you want to be just a technocrat, just to enjoy your technical stuff, or you want to get more into managing others. So that's something interesting you need to keep in mind. So I have put some brands, I have put some names, the leaders of those branded organizations, ranging from Elon Musk, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Eric Yuan, Robin Lai, Narayan Murthy, and Jeff Bezos. So one thing is quite common. Some reputed leaders of reputed branded organizations, they are all engineers. They are all engineers. They all had an engineering origin. You might not know Robin Lee, the leader of Baidu, the second largest search engine in the world. Say 80% of Chinese nationals use Baidu. And Eric Yuan became instant a billionaire when we shifted from room to Zoom during COVID, isn't it? So interesting stuff. Of course, others, you know, they're all in the limelight. They're all in the social media. So they say the only ship that survives the storm is leadership. So let's talk about the ship. So what sort of ship you see here? It's a wooden ship. So what is the main raw material? Timber. From where do you get timber? From the forest. So let's talk about making a ship. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to go to the forest to gather woods, saw it, and nail the planks together. Then you might ask, how on earth can then we build a ship? Instead, teach them the desire for the sea. So said Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, a French writer and a World War II pilot. So what he says makes profound sense. If you really look at this statement, it has two approaches towards people. To give you a clue, up to this point, approach one, beyond this point, approach two. So what is the difference? In approach one, you tell people, do this, do that, then do that, they will do that, and only that, nothing but that. In the second approach, you don't tell, you create the desire. So in the first one, it's viciously driving people. In second one, visionarily driving. And when you create the desire, they'll say, wow, let's go to the sea. And we need a channel, we need a ship. So let's build our own ship by bringing the timber, by going to the forest. They will go extra mile. So out of the two approaches, which is more relevant to leadership? Obviously, no brainer. It's approach number two. It's all about creating that desired future. That's where the dreaming comes into the scene. They say leaders are dreamers, and they make their teams, dream community. And if you compare the ship symbolically together with the sea and the people inside to a typical organization. So what is sea? Is it always calm, quiet, predictable? No. It is the turbulent times. It's the competitive, increasingly competitive market environment. Then the ship, obviously the organization, and the people, employees of the organization. So ship is sailing from one harbor to another harbor. So what is the ultimate harbor? The last harbor. Vision. The desired end destination, desired end dream, vision. So the starting point is leaders have to be visionary, having a vision. Of course, in Sri Lanka, we say in some mixed sessions, we see more visionary leaders rather than visionary leaders. If you see visionary, not visionary, that's what is important. So leadership in essence, in summing up, I can say inspiring, influencing, and initiating. You inspire from your words, you influence from your deeds, and you initiate from the seeds that you sow. Inspiring words, influencing deeds, initiating seeds. Think of any leader that comes to your mind from any field, any sphere of life. Take all great religious leaders, Buddha, Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, Hindu gurus. Think about them. Weren't they inspirers? Weren't they influencers? Weren't they initiators? Think about political leaders. The one name that comes easily to my mind is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I was in Ahmedabad last August doing some work at Nirma University. So they took me to Subormati Ashram near Subormati River, very wide river. Of course, not as beautiful as the rivers you see in Sri Lanka. So that is where Mahatma Gandhi spent his early life. There's a museum where his spinning wheel is still well preserved. So the way Gandhi inspired other fellow Indians to gain independence from Britain. So it's a classic case of inspiring. And the way he influenced others through his own behavior by wearing his own homemade clothes, khada clothes, and the way he initiated ahimsa, non-violence. So that's not what we see in some so-called protests where the police fire tear gas and the protesters throw stones back at police. No. He mentioned this beautifully in his writings. They may torture me, they may attack me, they may harass me, but they can't get my opinion, they can't get my concept. They may torture my body, but they can't get my willingness, they can't get my obedience. That's a real spiritual response as true non-violence response, ahimsa. If you have watched the movie Gandhi by Sir Richard Attenborough, which was an Oscar award-winning movie, you see that very clearly, how he and his inspired followers or leaders, how they responded non-violently. So remember, leadership is all about inspiring, influencing, and initiating. So engineers should not be confined to handle technical tasks. They need to show that they can inspire their team. They need to show that they can influence others. They need to show that they initiate things with others. Remember, inspiring words, influencing deeds, and initiating seeds. In moving further, leadership and management. We confusingly, interchangeably use these terms, leading, leadership, and management. So I had this doubt in my mind as a management student. Coming from engineering background, I did my master's in business management. I was an electrical engineer from Moratuwa. So I have not studied up to that point any marketing, any economics, any operations. So there I got myself enriched. But I had this confusion, leading, leadership, and management. How are they interconnected? So this is how I resolved it. Management is a process of leading from inputs to output. So it has 4 sub-processes: planning, organizing, leading, and control. So you plan by having right set of goals, and you organize by allotting right set of resources, and you control by having the required checks and balances. And you lead, that means you have the rigor of inspiring, influencing, and initiating. So management is a process, whereas leadership is a phenomenon. So there's a lot deeper aspects. As Stockdale, one of the researchers, said, leadership is vastly researched, least understood phenomenon on Earth. Vastly researched, least understood phenomenon on Earth. So management is a process, leadership is a phenomenon. So it's a never-ending phenomenon. That's why I have not put an edge. It's like a U shape, inverted parabola, isn't it? Inverted parabola, U shape. And you see, leading is the overlap. So every manager has a leadership role to play. Every leader has a management role to play. So the overlap is leading. So remember, leadership is a phenomenon. Management is a process. That's how I differentiate the two. So that's common factor for both aspects. So 5 E's of managerial leadership. So every engineer should be a managerial leader. You have a management dimension and leadership dimension. So you need these 5 E's for your excellence. Efficiency, effectiveness, efficacy, ethicality, and empathy. 5 E's. So let's take the first 3 together. Efficiency, effectiveness, and efficacy. Efficiency, how do you describe? I think these are very simple stuff. I want to make myself as simple as much as possible. They say being brilliant on basics. So efficiency is resource related. We talk about time efficiency, fuel efficiency, cost efficiency, and so on. So as Peter Drucker, one of the veteran management thinkers, put it, doing things right. In contrast, effectiveness, doing right things, the result orientation comes. So efficiency is resource related, whereas effectiveness is results related. So then what is efficacy? It's a psychological term. Your belief about your ability. Your belief about your ability. So in other words, it's response related. A similar term could be confidence. How confident are you with regard to what you do? Confidence. So you got to be efficient, you got to be effective, you got to be efficacious. Resource related, results related, and response related. Three aspects coming beautifully. Then I would like to propose sweet spot of progress. Sweet spot of progress. When you combine the two, when you combine the three meaningfully, efficiency and effectiveness, when you combine the two, doing things right and doing right things, you get doing right things right. We call it productivity. Doing right things right. Right things right. Whereas if you combine efficiency with efficacy, you're doing things with so confidence. We call it proficiency. You're so proficient in what you do. Say a veteran artist coming and performing in front of a large audience. Say a theatrical performance is very proficient. How they do it so flawless, smooth. So when you combine effectiveness and efficacy, you become a professionalism. You are a confident, result-oriented person. Take an engineer as a professional, take a doctor as a professionalism. So when you have productivity, professionalism, and professions, you have the sweet spot of progress. You're progressing, you're improving, you're moving ahead. Kaizen in Japanese, continuous improvement. So this is what you need. Resource related, results related, and response related. Efficiency, effectiveness, and efficacy, productivity, proficiency, and professionalism. Finally, you zoom into progress. So think about you. Reflect on your professional approach, your productive approach, your proficient approach. Are you progressing the way you want? If not, food for thought, how you need to improve. Ethicality, a very, very subjective matter. How can you be an ethical leader? Ethics is in high focus. Practice of moral principles and values that govern the behaviors of acceptable right. So why have I put acceptable within inverted commas? What is acceptable to one society might not be acceptable to another society. For example, in California, marijuana is legalized. Cannabis is legalized as a medicine. Whereas in our part of the world, it is not. Sri Lanka, there's a huge move to promote cannabis as an export crop. And there was a lady minister who used to push it. She used to call it Triloka Vijayapatra. Triloka Vijayapatra. Cannabis. Sorry. You see? So is it ethical? A big question mark. Now, when I went to do consultants in South Africa, I saw in public places posters, safe abortion, attractive price, contact. Abortion is legalized. But is it ethical to kill an unborn baby? I don't know. So it's very contextual. In certain contexts, what is ethical might not be ethical in another context. Sometimes it goes beyond legal boundaries. Legally, you can do that, but ethics go beyond legal. You can fire someone by paying compensation. It's legal, but is it ethical? Then what about the livelihood that person, the breadwinner of the family? So these are very, very complex issues. But leader has to be ethical in every front. So this is how you become ethical. So you have a clay lamp, the bottom of the clay lamp and the fig and the oil, they represent one we, plural we. And the light it emanates represent singular we. So what is value and values. Value is your net worth, economic terms, monetary terms, financial terms. So on top, you have economic value. On the bottom, you have behavioral values. For example, honesty, integrity, teamwork, commitment. So I wrote an article, I remember, produce value by practicing values. Produce value by practicing values. You need both. The problem is you overly focus on the monetary value, ignoring, neglecting, disregarding values. It might work in the short run, but in the long run, you cannot produce value without practicing values. There's an erosion of values in many countries, in many societies. People go behind perks, compromising principles. People go behind privileges, compromising precious principles. There's a sad part, is it? Sometimes people cross over from one party to another party, saying that they do a supreme sacrifice for the benefit of people. But what is the reality? The money they get, the commission they get, or the bribe they get. Sad to know. Finally, my favorite, empathy. So what is empathy? Is it similar to sympathy? No. Empathy is looking from another's point of view, looking from another's point of view, and getting into another's framework. They put it in a beautiful way, getting into others' shoes and walk. And you need that. Getting into others' shoes and walk. Empathy. Stephen Covey, one of the veteran management thinkers, said that's one of the weakest among managers. One of the weakest among managers. They're not empathic enough. They think my way is highway. You have to adopt my way. That's the common practice. So Stephen Covey, in his famous book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the repeated New York Times bestsellers, give this beautiful story. So we were talking about ships a lot, isn't it? There's another story about ship. A ship was sailing on dark night, during dark night. So the captain of the ship is in the top deck, looking at the front. A bright light came directly towards the ship. And the captain took the megaphone as usual and started to talk. This Captain Smith speaking, please change your direction. Pat came the reply, this Peter speaking, please change your direction. Captain got annoyed. Who the hell is that person asked me to change my direction? He took the megaphone and raised the voice. This is Captain Smith speaking, please change your direction. Came the calm, quiet voice. This Peter speaking, please change your direction. Captain got really annoyed. That fellow doesn't know who I am. I'm carrying cannons and I can fire him at any time. His blood started to boil and he took the megaphone and he started screaming. This is Captain Smith speaking for the final time. Immediately change your direction. Otherwise, I'd start firing my cannons. Came the calm, quiet voice. This is Peter speaking from the lighthouse. I can't change my direction. Please change your direction. So why couldn't Captain identify the lighthouse? Are we also missing lighthouses in our lives? Remember, empathy, some people say it's a weakness. I disagree. Empathy is a sign of strength. And your next door, Jacinta Ardern, when she embraced the survivors after that mosque attack, she showed the world how empathetic a leader can be. And she was criticized by others. And she responded saying, you can be empathetic and effective at the same time. It is not being weak, it's being strong. So remember, this is one of the neglected aspects, empathy. Leaders have to be empathetic towards others, empathetic towards the stakeholders, empathetic towards many, many others. So that's what I would like to talk about, the 5 E's which are relevant to engineers. Efficiency, effectiveness, efficacy, your confidence, and ethicality, finally, empathy. Start reflecting on those 5. And I would suggest to identify 1 E as your improvement area. They're all interconnected, they are all interwoven, they are all interlinked. perhaps you need to work on all those 5 E's in order to ensure that you are enhancing your leadership skills. So this is what Stephen Covey said in his book, Fifth Habit. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. This is what he says. It's all about empathy. And this is what I was referring to. Jacinta, what she says. It's all about empathy. So this, what I would like to stress, it's a choice. I hope you can remember Dumbledore, the famous professor who liked Harry Potter in the J.K. Rowling's best-selling series. It's our choices, Harry, that shows who we truly are, far more than our abilities. So empathy is a choice. Keep that in mind. So with the 5 E's in action, you're going to have 3 sets. So what are these 3 sets? Mindset, skill set, and tool set. Remember, leadership is a mindset more than anything else to begin with. There's a myth in the world. We think leaders are at the top and engineers are at the top. Incorrect. Leaders are not at the, leaders can be at the top, but engineers also should be at the top, not at the top. It's a mindset to begin with. Remember the golden truth of leadership. It is more to do with decisions and actions rather than to do with positions and titles. Yes, true enough, we need positions, we need titles, but leadership begins with the mindset of decisions and actions. I met Professor Rob Goffey, who is a professor in leadership at London Business School. He said, we have a fantastic leader at London Business School. I asked about the details. He said, she's in charge of the toilet cleaning department. The fantastic leader at the London Business School is in charge of toilet cleaning department. So what is the message? So simple. It's non-hierarchical. It is more to do with decisions and actions than to do with positions and titles. Leaders are at all levels, different strata. But the challenge is, are we identifying them enough? Are we recognizing them enough? Are we building them enough? If you don't do that, engineers will become mere executors, not executive leaders. You become mere executors. That's the sad part. Sometimes it's very sad to note some brilliant engineers have to work under the supervision of some, I will not use the bad term, politically appointed people who do not know anything about engineering. Many examples I can give, which I heard from my own ears. So it begins with the right mindset. Then, of course, obviously, skill set and the right tool set. I'm sure you are more familiar with tool set. We use tools, analytical tools, evaluation tools, project management tools, many other tools. So you have access to many tools. So you have a comprehensive tool set. At the beginning is mindset. Mindset, skill set, tool set. The order is not the other way around. Or the sequence begins with right mindset. Mindset, skill set, tool set. So start thinking and acting like a leader. So the beginning is me as a leader. I remember doing so many physical sessions on leadership during past 10 to 15 years. So I asked a question from the audience, very senior managers sometime. How many of you all think you are a leader? Just raise hand. Mind you, very few raise hand. Very few. Some raise hand, very low level, so that shows the level of leadership. Some look around, and when others raise hand, they also raise hand. Why should I become second? And so on. So they all think it's all to do with prestigious corporate leaders. I don't belittle them, but it's more mindset than anything else. I'll give you a real story to prove it further. So there was this rural area. The roads were in a very bad shape, dilapidated condition, potholes and garage all over. A person was walking along. He didn't see a huge cavity in the middle and he fell into the cavity and he got himself injured. And he started crying and weeping, cursing everyone, and thinking of the Road Development Authority officials, giving birth certificates to the Road Development Authority officials, and went away. Person number one. Then came a lady, also didn't see the cavity in the middle, also fell into the cavity, and she started crying for help, and with difficulty she stood up, and bleeding and crawling and cursing and weeping, she went away. That's person number two. Then came a youngster who saw the cavity at a distance. Instead of avoiding and going away, he went to a nearby tree and plucked a branch of a tree and brought it, kept right in the middle, show that there's some danger, but avoid it, and then he moved away. Person number three. Who is the leader among them? Obviously, not brainer. Person number three, because he had the right mindset to take the right decision at the right time, using the available right resources and producing the required right results. It's all about mindset. So that's the starting point. We need to have that leadership mindset. I had been doing many sessions in the Middle East in particular, because we have our MBA program in 6 international destinations, apart from Colombo, Sri Lanka, Dubai, Doha, Muscat, Manama, Bahrain, Kuwait City, Kuwait, Dhaka, Bangladesh, and so on, where I have met a lot of engineers in my MBA classes. So I always challenge them to have the leadership mindset. Don't get settled at technical level. Go to the C-suite. For you to become a chief executive officer, you need to have the leadership mindset. That's something important. Inspiring, influencing, and initiating. You are a dreamer, you take your team towards a desired dream. Leader is a dealer in hope. So said Napoleon. So what was the context? What is the context? Napoleon was a military leader, isn't it? In the military battlefront, when the enemy is so powerful, so your troops are getting collapsed one by one. So then are the remaining troops comfortable or uncomfortable? Obviously uncomfortable. Are they confident or lacking confidence? They lack. So who should give them courage? Leader. Come on, guys, let's go ahead. Let's fight. We can win. So leader is a dealer in hope. Unfortunately, sad to note, some of the leader become destroyer of hope, destroying the wee bit of hope. I have seen this in many government departments in some cases, where there was the story about a particular government department where there was Sunday newspaper item saying that it will be shut down. And people came to know it only through the newspaper, and they were very insecure. And the next day, when they went to office on Monday, they flocked around the boss's cubicle and asked on the boss, so is that true that our department will be shut down? The boss was casually looking at the newspaper. I don't know, when I'm going to retire next month. You better find something else. So he became a classic destroyer in hope, not a dealer in hope. So think about you, which category you fall into. And if you look at the word hope, isn't it so fundamental for living? We all live by hope, isn't it? So when one hope is fulfilled, we have another hope. And once that is fulfilled, we have yet another hope. The moment you lose hope, you need a rope to hang yourself. The moment you lose hope, you need a rope. Think about it. So this is what leadership brilliantly is all about. There are 3 types of leaders, according to Lao Tzu. Who is Lao Tzu? Father of Confucianism, ancient Eastern tradition. I hope he was not confused. So what are the 3 types of leaders? Grumpy leaders, good leaders, and great leaders. Who is a grumpy leader? Good or bad? Bad, wicked, cruel. But still we call them leaders because they achieve results either by hook or by crook. Grumpiness. So I remember in a large factory that I worked, there was a production manager who used to come early morning with a briefcase. And then a simple, innocent factory worker comes across him. And out of sheer respect, he tells the production manager, "Good morning, sir." Guess what is the reaction? So what is the production yesterday? So no wonder people thought more about his parents than about him. Grumpy leaders. Who is a good leader? People like, people respect, people appreciate. Then who's a great leader? So what makes a great leader different from a good leader? Any thoughts? Think about it. Lao Tzu puts it profoundly. A great leader is a leader when the team says, we did it ourselves. Team says, we did it ourselves. So when the team says, we did it ourselves, then where is the leader? Has the leader fled away? No, leader acts like a catalyst. The way sugar dissolves and make tea tastier. The way salt dissolves and make a dish tastier. Leader acts like a catalyst. That's where the great leadership should blossom, should foster, should flourish. So in simple terms, a great leader is a leader who does not have followers. Instead, he or she has a bunch of empowered leaders. A great leader is a leader breeder. He or she breeds others as leaders. And everyone is empowered to do the things. They all say, we did it ourselves. Can you create that environment in your workplace? Can you create that situation with your team? Can you aspire to be that great leader? Is it relevant in the current context? Lao Tzu would have told us so many thousand years ago. Is it relevant today? Yes, there's solid research. Thanks to Jim Collins. I enjoyed reading all his books. He had trilogy. First, Built to Last. Repeated New York Times bestseller. Second one, Good to Great. Repeated New York Times bestseller. Third one, Great by Choice. Again, New York Times bestseller. So he, together with his research team, studied the organizations in the US which had sustained success, long success. And according to him, who is more important than what? First comes who, then comes what. Before targets, before goals, before objectives comes the leader. Leader is important. Who is important than what? So he talks about a hierarchy, a ladder, a path, upward path, good to great. You start with highly capable individual. The starting point. You are chosen because of your capability. You are recruited because of your talent. But you go through a mindset shift by becoming a contributing team member. Contributing team member. You are no more an isolated individual. You are an interactive team member. Then you do so well. You are no more a member. You are in charge of a team. It's a competent manager. Then you do so well. Now you are no more in charge of just one team. You are in charge of several teams. We call it effective lead, result-oriented lead. You do so well, and level 5 is great leadership. In fact, Jim Collins originally called it level 5 executive, but I think it has all the more reason to call it great leadership. And again, this is not a promotional path. People misunderstand this as a promotional path. For example, from level 1 to 2, there's no promotion. It's a mindset shift. So for this journey to happen, you need capability and opportunity. You need to upskill yourself. You need to be up to date, upgraded, updated. So capability expansion and opportunity exploration. Explore new opportunities. Explore new possibilities. So capability and opportunity both are needed. According to Jim Collins, great leaders have two remarkable features, will and humility. If I am to expand professional will and personal humility. Professional will, personal humility. So why professional will? There's a fire within. When there's a target, they say if there's a will, there's a way. They go and achieve. But you're so simple. You're so down to earth. You don't go on others' shoulders. You might carry others on your shoulders. Humility. Very humble. Great leaders are like that. Think about all great religious leaders. And they're like that. They had an aim. They achieved it. And they were so humble. Think about Buddha's enlightenment. The way he was going towards that. Think about Jesus' resurrection. We had Easter recently, isn't it? So, will plus humility. And if you think about a business leader, example I could give is Mr. Warren Buffett. was the inspiring mentor of Bill Gates and Melinda Gates. But he could not prevent them separating, but that's a limitation of mentoring. So he lives in an average house, he goes around in an average car, and he doesn't come to media to give pompous media shows. He's very media shy. He takes brilliant investment decisions as the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. Brilliant investment decision, one of the top 10 richest in the world. But at the same time, very humble, very simple, very down to earth. So are the great leaders. So you should be having the right will, having the humility. I'll give you 30 seconds to reflect. What level am I currently in? What level I need to move towards? It's a journey more than a destination. As far as you're on the move, that's what is important. As far as you're on the move. Moving further. Triple spheres of great leaders. Great leaders operate in 3 different spheres. What are those? Lead as a servant, lead as a synergist, lead as a strategist. So this thought process that I had fitted very well with an old model of Aristotle, who said ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is your character, your service-oriented character. Pathos is your passion to be with people. Be a united, not a divided. Logos is your logical mind, thinking future. Strategy is all about future orientation with the right game plan, strategist. So servant, synergist, and strategist. On the other hand, ethos, pathos, and logos. So I ask a question from you. Am I serving enough as a servant? Am I building a team as a synergist? Am I looking future, having the right plan as a strategist? So let me share with you some interesting insights. 3 great leaders showing these 3 greatnesses, starting with my favorite, Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta, leaving out all the rich aristocratic traditions in Armenia, coming to Kolkata, taking care of the desert children in Kolkata. Mother Teresa, how she really did. She says, you can't do great things. You can do small things with great love. Isn't it? That's what she showed as a truly a servant leader. And then my second example is from another favorite movie. By the way, the first movie was filmed in Sri Lanka. Ironically, that's how they have some singular names in those buses. So otherwise, you don't get buses with singular names in Kolkata, isn't it? So this is another movie. I'm sure you would have watched it, Invictus. It's a Latin term, means uncrushable soul, undefeatable soul. Where Morgan Freeman plays the role of Nelson Mandela. So to cut a long story short, how we build South African society, the new South Africa, the rainbow nation, where black, white, and brown people started living in harmony. Black, brown, and white people started living in harmony. So it's all about the Rugby World Cup in 1995, before we won the Cricket World Cup in 1996. So rugby was part of apartheid because the minority white people, they preferred rugby, whereas majority black, they preferred soccer. So majority black hated rugby. For them, it's a sign of suppression, oppression, and depression. And Nelson Mandela had a huge challenge to rally the entire country around South African rugby team. And this, you see in the right side, Francois Pinesa, the captain of Springboks rugby team of South Africa. And it is ironical that last Rugby World Cup also South Africa won, isn't it? History repeats. So, and then the media was very sarcastic about South Africa winning. The South African media said they would never even come to semi-finals. And when they won, the same commentator who was very cynical came to Francois with the mic, held the mic and asked, did you get the support of 60,000 spectators in the stadium? He said, no, I would rather put it, we got the support of 60 million South Africans around the country. not just 60,000, 60 million South Africans around the country. See the power of synergy. Leader as a synergist, building people, developing teams. An engineer should be a team builder. Of course, you have a lot of teams in your work, isn't it? A civil engineer, construction engineer has to work with teams in sites, isn't it? So, synergist, building teams. Third one, strategist. I like the way Gandhi, among multiple dimensions, one dimension is strategy. He had a clear game plan to get independent from India in a from Britain, a non-violent way. Gandhi as a strategist. So leader as a servant, synergist, and a strategist. This is the symbolical way of putting it. By the way, just a process check from the organizers. Is it the full 1 hour allotted for the thought sharing or including Q&A? Taranju, you can give a...
Yes, Professor Damasuri, usually it is with the Q&A session.
Q&A all together, 1 hour.
Yeah.
Good. Right. So that's fine. That's fine. So these are the ways that we need to look into with regard to servant, synergist, and strategist. So start reflecting on you. Start thinking about you, how you can be a servant, synergist, and strategist. In moving forward, I would like to give you time to ask questions, and then I would, because we need to have good time for Q&A as well. So let me sorry. Let me share with you one important thing, one simple thing before moving further. I think I lost the connection for a little while. Okay, let me put it, let me show it to you what I was looking at. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Okay, we have shifted from, okay, this is what we were talking about. This way I want to spend time being authentic. The latest, hottest area is being authentic, purposeful, passionate, principled, pragmatic, and persuasive. Engineers have to be purposeful, having a clear purpose. And they have to be passionate enough. They have to be principled in their action, pragmatic, practical, not just idealistic, and persuasive. Keep going and never giving up. So purposeful, passionate, principled, pragmatic, and persuasive. So let me wind up by giving you enough time to ask questions by what Leroy Ames, a leadership thinker from US, had to say. A leader is one who sees more than others see, who sees further than others see, and who sees before others see. More than others see, further than others see, before others see. You as an engineer need to see more than others see. Sometimes your finance colleague, your marketing colleague might see more than others see, further than others see, before others see. That's being proactive rather than being reactive. So this is not the way you do that, by the way. So key issues, key challenges. Sometimes engineers are sidelined, and lawyers who can communicate better would be at the helm. But with regard to technical issues, they are clueless. So they resort to engineers. So engineers sometimes lack communication skills. So that's the challenge. So you need to develop your communication confidence. There was a case in Sri Lanka where they were talking about a light railway, railway project, LRT, I mean, say on elevated lines. And there was a so-called economist who said you can't take goods from them. So, and then there were so many engineers in that audience, and no one gave a counter argument. Sad to note, isn't it? So I went to India a couple of times recently. I was so happy to see how India is prospering. The metro network in Chennai, metro network in Mumbai, metro network in Delhi, of course, that came much earlier. How they are flourishing. Where even Bangladesh went with the metro network. But how about Sri Lanka? Still talking about it. So this is something from local literature. I hope you still have local roots with Australian reach. Amita guna nuwana utumu paband. Anata vesa ladua nama vetu. Digata patala suwan that is on the sandun. Sindita madita ekalesa patirei. So famous people with wisdom will not get unhappy even when they are much tired. Fragrant sandalwood would still emanate its fragrance even if it is crushed or squeezed. So sandalwood is a symbol of leadership. Others will crush you, but you still emanate fragrance. Kapanda kapanda muhatte. Talanda talanda point. That's what leadership is all about. So my motto, those who serve deserve leadership. It's a calling to serve others. So with that, I hope this is not your mindset right now. Questions, clarifications, issues. I'll leave you time to ask questions in me inviting you to reflect, refresh, reflect and refresh. Reflect yourself and refresh. And I'm not closing the session. I'm opening up new way of thinking, new way of doing, new way of delivering results. So it's a continuing journey. For that journey, let me wish you good luck. Bon voyage, happy journey. And you can join with me through LinkedIn, and you can be the lucky 14,000th connection. There's a QR code also. And you can visit my website, www.ajatdanzi.info. You can email me at any time. We can continue this relationship in time to come. So let me open up now questions. So once again, thanking for inviting me for this session. And then I hope we have a few more minutes remaining for few questions. Tarindu, you can take it forward.
Thank you very much, Professor Ajantha Dharmasiri. That was a brilliant presentation. I really enjoyed personally. Absolutely brilliant one. Let me switch on my video. Yes, of course, personally thoroughly enjoyed. I think all the participants, if we count the numbers, I saw once it was 43, now it's 42. It's a kind of considerable number, given the fact that the IESLWA seminars or the webinars have an average of 35 to 40 people on average. That's the habit, especially during the day, the time of the day that we have this webinar. But anyway, it's been recorded, so anyone who's interested, you can chip into the IESL YouTube channel later, probably after 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes they will be uploading. So if you do have any questions, it's time for questions. The floor is open for questions. We are receiving messages.
There's one from Prabodha Jinasena. Thank you, Prabodha. Do leaders have to be positive thinkers always? Interesting question. I should suggest to be realistic thinkers. Being positive is the starting point. Positive thinking should lead to possibility thinking. Being realistic, open for options. But being positive is a mindset to begin with. Then you have to see the reality. But it's a good habit to always look at the positive side, the brighter side of, rather than looking at the darker side. but don't ignore the negative consequences. Being positive doesn't mean that you overlook the risks, you overlook the negativities. You need to be broad. Engineers have to be analytical as well as aspiration, both sides. Thank you for that question.
That's a good question by Engineer Prabodha Jinasena. Yes.
Yes.
Any more questions?
I think Darshini has raised hand virtually. You want
Yes.
to... Yes.
Yes, it's me. First of all, I would like to thank you so much, Professor Dharmasiri, for giving us such a wonderful presentation. It was really great.
My
And I
pleasure.
think it's really useful for engineers as leaders and emerging leaders, you know. So, yeah, thank you very much. My question is, as leaders, do we always have to keep our team members happy? You know, sometimes in a teamwork environment, there are some team members sometimes very too sensitive, and we can't say anything to them. We say that, oh, could you please do it this way? And they get it personally, and they get it upset, and make bit of a bad vibe to the group. So how can we tackle this kind of environment with our team members?
Okay, I think that's a great question, Darshini. Thank you. So happiness has two sides. Happiness as a feeling, happiness as more a mindset. Happiness as a feeling will go up and down. As you said, people who are sensitive might get upset when you give a constructive feedback. When you give a strong feedback, they might get upset. But happiness as a mindset, if you help them to develop that, there's a solid research finding that happy people become more productive. I have been talking to many CEOs who said, I take care of my people, they take care of my business.
Exactly.
So make people happy. And happiness is an invitation to use all your energies. When you're happy, you are channeling all your energies to success. But in a team setting, I would suggest you need to have a clear purpose. This is the purpose of our team. And rally people around that purpose. And you live that purpose in action. Then the feeling part will not be a major thing. So there can be something that you say will hurt someone and that will upset another one. Those are all temporary things. But happiness as a mindset overall. I'm happy being in this team. I'm happy being in this organization. I'm happy doing this wonderful job. I'm happy being an engineer. So that's the mindset you need to develop. It's a broader, long-term perspective, not just temporarily being happy or being sad. I think there was another question, Tarindu.
Yes, I think hopefully it will be the last one from Dr.
Yes, due to time. What is the biggest challenge engineers facing to become leaders? Thank you, Senaka. That's a very good one. Biggest challenge in my view, sorry, don't misunderstand me. I see engineers as brilliant thinkers, but not necessarily brilliant communicators. So there's a huge communication challenge. The lawyers take undue advantage of it. Those who have the gift of the gab can impress by expressing. They get the chance of reaching up, whereas engineers might get confined to technicalities because they have a deep inner world, but not enough way to communicate to impress the outer world. So that's my personal observation. Sorry if I'm being little straightforward on this. I think huge communication challenge. I was very sad to see why some brilliant engineers don't end up in top level by just subserving to some other professions because of their communication gaps. There's just another question came. I'll leave it to the organizers.
Yes, we'll take that one as the last.
Hasita,
it's a good
I think
one.
final question. Hasita, Hasita says we have to take gray decisions rather than black and white. They're okay as a leader. I think I skipped one segment. We are living in a world where it's uncertain. It's a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So grayness is the nature of the day. Grayness. You have to be comfortable with gray, not black and white. So you have to make decisions with 70% information and not having 30% information, with 70% accuracy, having the 30% risk. So again, it's a risk-taking behavior you need to have. So I think that is part of engineer's life.
Yeah, in reality, you have to be a gray person with better shades of white within you,
Absolutely.
rather than being a black person, because in reality, you can't be a white person.
You have to be comfortable going through the grayness, the mist.
Exactly.
The ambiguity is part and parcel of life. Ambiguity tolerance is the hallmark of a great leader. You need to tolerate ambiguity. So I'm sure I personally enjoyed being with all of you. My first encounter with a group of friends in Perth, Australia. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And let's continue. If there's any future prospects, I'll be more than happy to get involved. Over to you, Tarun.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it was absolutely a pleasure for me to introduce you and also be in this particular presentation, which was absolutely brilliant. On behalf of ESL Western Australian chapter, again, a big thank you. And with this thought, I have written down from your presentation, there should be a fire within, not to burn others, but to burn your own false feelings. With that, let's wind up. Until next time, stay safe and stay tuned for the IESLWA webinar series from next month onwards. We'll continue. Take care.
All the best.